Finally, you're here.
We're already behind schedule.
First action is reprogramming everything. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is reconstruct the API, the SSO, and then we're going to have to denormalize the DB cache. Got it? And once we've updated the core cycling unit, then we'll update the brushing system. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is make sure we're in and out of the system at the same time. Right, Aaron?
Oof.
Perfect. All right, next project, Vikings.
Vikings?
It's an acronym. Right, Byron?
Yeah.
All right, you bet. Start with the V. So that's everything that we need done today. All right, you think you can handle that?
But it's 5:30.
Perfect, so we got plenty of time. You got this.
Z, on today's show, we are interviewing the founder and the CEO of OxyFresh carpet cleaning franchises. Now, my friend, on today's show, we're interviewing a guy whose business has 151,000 Google reviews.
Wow!
396 locations.
Wow!
What could we possibly learn from this man, Z?
A lot.
When we come back, going green. Can your small business profit by turning eco-friendly? We're going to talk with the CEO of one business who says it is working for him. That is ahead on Fox Business, giving you the power to prosper.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, yes, yes. And Dr. Z, guess who is today's guest?
It's fresh. It's hot and fresh.
It's hot and it's fresh. It's it's the founder of America's greenest carpet cleaning company. It is none other than my brother from another mother, Mr. Jonathan Barnett. Welcome onto the show, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Clay. How you doing, brother? You doing good down there?
We are psychologically and emotionally prepared for this interview. And we're just going to ask you a ton of tough questions. Z, we're going to paint them into a corner with
hard hitting.
All right. So, Jonathan, people who've Googled you know that you've had some tremendous success throughout your career. So I want to start. By asking you about the bottom and the fireworks stand that started it all. How did you start OxyFresh?
You know, that's a great question, and I get to tell this story quite a bit nowadays. But when you look back at it, sometimes you don't appreciate the story. Your stories of the hard times you've gone through or your beginning. So I think all of us have that. And if you don't have that out there, that's why you're listening to this show right now. So in the very beginning, before I started a carpet cleaning company that was nationwide with 150,000 reviews on the web, there was very humble beginnings. And I grew up with a single mom that always taught me to, work hard in school, work hard in sports, get a good job, this and that. And we grew up without a lot of money, but I saw how hard she worked. So my grandpa, my dad's side of the family, gave all of his grandkids, and he has a lot of them, most of them I've never met, $10,000 for Christmas. So I was reading this book in my dorm rooms at Oral Roberts University in Clay. I know we both went to school there, and we didn't know each other that much then, but we knew who each other were.
Yeah.
And I know you're an entrepreneur at school as well. And so I think it's kind of how we knew each other, really. But basically, reading that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it talks about, this guy that had 2 dads, a stepdad and a real dad. One dad, always encouraged him to go get a job, get a good education, go get a good job, and keep it safe. And then the other dad was creating jobs for other people, a little more risky, right? But and he watched these dads grow as they got older. And the safe dad, the dad with the education and good job, he did well long at the beginning, but over time, the other dad blew him away. And so when I was driving down the road after reading this book with this check in my hand, and I saw out there in Tulsa, which is kind of cool that you're there, but I'm in Denver now, but I saw this fireworks stand, and, it was wintertime, but I saw it and I was like, how hard is that? Like, if someone else can do it, why can't I do it? So I started looking up fireworks, where to buy them, and wholesale, you buy them in different states, this and that. So I invested that money I had, the $10,000. I bought $2 or $3 grand worth of fireworks, drove over to Kansas, bought wholesale fireworks, drove them back, and had to build a stand that me and my buddy, we slept out there for 2 weeks in the summertime.
Yeah.
And that $2 or $3 grand worth of fireworks, we turned into 20 grand in sales. Now there's other expenses we had. So I don't want to get into all the details of this fireworks story, but
let's talk about how tall the fireworks stand was.
Yeah.
How deep was it and how tall? Just approximately. We have a few more detailed questions about this fireworks stand. How big was he? Because you were sleeping there, right?
Well, so here's the thing. I had a pop-up camper I was sleeping in,
Okay.
and had a mobile mini that I put the fireworks in so the people wouldn't steal them at night. But the fireworks stand was actually 8 foot. Those 8 foot by 4 foot planks, I think they're, or 6 by 8, whatever. There's 2 of them, so it's 16 foot long. Me and my buddy built it. We were so proud of it. We named it College Fun Fireworks. We put it right next to the big guys, and people would stop by and say, "Hey, I want to buy from you. I don't want to buy the big guys. I want to support the college kids." We were like, perfect. So I loved it, and but the problem was that, man, I decided to jump in the hotel across the street every night to take my shower because I had to sleep outside.
Yep.
And I traded fireworks for food. And my markup on fireworks was 4 or 5 to 1. So every time I trade someone $5 for the fireworks, it cost me $1.
See, I want to marinate on that idea for just a second. That he could buy fireworks and then sell them for 4 or 5 times more than he paid for them.
Wait a second. Time out.
Yes.
Is that ethical?
Well, I would like to. I would like to get into the ethics of this with you because this is a question that I think somebody out there is asking. Okay, so in the optometry clinic, in the optometry game, in the jewelry game, in the auto auction game, and in the banking game, these are all different industries that we know about. I've coached in different businesses, and you've owned them. And so let's talk about jewelry. Why in the jewelry industry is the markup so much higher than it would be in other industries? How come some industries have more markups than others?
Well, I think it's a pleasure item. It's also, it has a distinct feel to it. I mean, when you're buying jewelry, what are you really buying? You're buying love.
Think about that. That right there is a deep thought for somebody.
Is that a deep thought?
Well, I mean, I if I wasn't married to Vanessa, there's no way I'd ever buy a diamond.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Back in the day, when you'd have your little stud
Bling,
earrings
bling.
back when you...
I had hoops.
Oh, that's right. You were
I had hoops. I still have the holes in my ears. They won't go away.
We need to tag a picture of you back in your prime on the show, on show notes.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you'll stand up and do that. That'd be kind of fun because I think the Thrive Nation would really like to see the old Clay Clark.
Here's what I'll do. Before you and I leave today's recording session, we will do a show about the old. So I've got some really good audio files that I think you would love.
Oh, perfect. But I think that jewelry is one of those that it's a, and then I think also too, by marking it up a lot, it gives them a lot of opportunities for discounts. And so a lot of times you can say, half off price, which means I'm not going to rip your head off completely, just partly.
So I'm not going to ask you for the specific margins you have on your specific items, but let's go with like the auto auction. In that industry, there's no way you could have a 4 and 5 time markup on a car at an auto auction, could you?
Well, the thing about an auto auction is, I don't actually sell I just do the service. So let's look at
like
let's look at an auto dealership, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah, their markups are much less. Now, on a used car, if bought correctly, sometimes they can buy a car for $10,000 to $15,000 range, let's say, and they can add up, $3,000, $4,000, maybe even $5,000 on top of that.
So let's say that somebody goes to your auto auction who's a used car dealer, and they buy a truck. I'm picturing a F-250, and it's got about 50,000 miles on it.
Okay.
And they buy that thing. I don't even know what that would cost me. Let's say it was like $25,000.
Okay,
So
$25,000.
you're saying that somebody could then, the used car dealer could take that vehicle back, clean it up, detail it out, and maybe mark it up $5,000?
Yeah, they'd probably market it $29.99 or something, put it on their lot, I would imagine. And then hopefully try to get, $28, $29 maybe out of it because everybody comes in to buy a car knowing you're going to do a little wheeling and dealing on it, right? Now, what's interesting is this, if you talk about the auto industry, is that the guys that do the buy here, sell here, they mark theirs up a lot more.
Really?
A lot.
Really?
Because they have a very unique clientele that can't get financing conventionally. And so it's like the poorer you are, the worse you get beat up financially.
It's interesting.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting because you think about different industries. I see so many people I've met at the workshops who are contractors.
Yeah.
I'll think of a good example of a contractor that I'm a big fan of is our pool guy right now.
Yeah.
Our
Always doing
pool
a
guy
great job.
doing an awesome job. And I'll say our pool guy, he didn't apologize for the profit. He says, this is what it's going to cost for labor and materials, and then this is how much I add on as my profit. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't feel bad.
He was transparent. That's unusual.
And he did not feel bad about it. And I
so
think
unusual to be transparent.
That's not normal.
It's not.
But every other pool guy was kind of not every. There was I think 5 or 6 people we were talking to.
Yeah.
But there was like 3 of them that were just squirrely. They wouldn't show you what they were spending on materials. They couldn't give you a hard cost.
Yeah.
They couldn't. And so I would just say that you don't need. But I think there's more entrepreneurs out there than not who are really underpaying themselves and not marking up their products and services enough to achieve their goals. I think for every 5 that are gouging, somebody with too high of prices, I would say there's 50 who are underpaying themselves.
It's a shame, and that's why, in my soon-to-be released book, Business Pig.
Oof.
Big Pig eats first at the trough. You've got to pay yourself. You've got to, and if you're not able to pay yourself enough money to live, you're not charging enough. And if you can't make it if you can't charge enough, in other words, if you say to yourself, well, I can't charge that, well, try it.
Yeah.
You may lose a few customers, but overall, like when you went up on your DJ, when you went from like 600 to 650, some crazy move.
Yeah.
You lose a few, right?
Yeah, I know that with the DJ business, I was doing my first shows for $225. $225, $250. Very, very low. And I had this
What a bargain they got.
I had this mental block, though, thinking I'll lose all of my customers, all of them. And they're all going to start talking. If I raise my prices to $500, I'm going to lose all of them. And I stayed there at that poverty line for a couple years, just refusing to raise because thinking I would lose all my customers.
Right. It's a shame.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people stay there. Why do people stay at that level where they're underpaying themselves? Why do they do it?
I don't know. I think a lot of people just don't understand all the costs that go into running a business.
Okay.
So they have just a simple mindset of, okay, I want to, I already own my speakers.
Yep.
I've got gas in the van. I've got a payment on the van. I mean,
Yep.
you don't realize all the small stuff that goes into the taxes and the cable company and the phone bills and the.
When we think about your optometry clinic, the one by the mall there, Woodland Hills Mall,
Right.
That piece of land that's $1 million piece of real estate right there.
Yeah, probably now. When I bought it 7 years ago, I bought it for. Guess how much I bought it for?
How much did you buy it for?
Well, take a guess.
Well, right now we based on the size, based on the volume of the construction outside, based upon the weather conditions, based upon these things, I would say a quarter of an acre. Right next to the mall.
Yeah, the pad side out in front of the mall.
You had to have bought it for $200,000.
It was $300,000. Then I actually paid $310,000 for it. That's a great story.
$310,000.
Yes.
And today it's got to be worth at least $2-3 million.
Well, with the building on it, yes, of course.
It has to be.
I think last time I had praise was what, 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay taxes on that thing.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But you're aware of it, and so therefore when you're charging someone for the glasses, you're not just charging them for the glasses. You're charging them for the insurance. You're charging them for the real estate. You're charging them for
electricity bill.
So what you're gonna
employee costs.
I want to make this actionable for all the listeners out there. What I want you to do is I want you to get out a sheet of paper or maybe a spreadsheet, and I want you to add in every single cost last month that you're going to get next month. Every fixed cost. Add them all up.
Yep.
Add up every single cost. Add them all up. Now, on the next column, I want you to add up all of your variable costs. That's like the cost of doing business, the goods.
The goods.
The glasses that you buy that you have to resell, that kind of thing. Add all those up. Get to a total between the fixed and the fixed expenses and the variable expenses. And whatever that number is, add 20% on top of that, and that's about the profit margin you should be making minimum.
I would go a little higher because you want to end up with 20, and there's always that uh-ohs for the month.
I mean, that's the minimum, though.
Right, that's the minimum. I would probably start with 30, and hopefully you can end up with 25 in your pocket.
Can we talk about rushing to the bottom for a second? Rushing to the bottom. It's almost like
I thought you were going to say Russian to the bottom. I go,
the hunt for Red October or something?
I
want to talk about this. So this is rushing. There are a lot of business owners that want to bottom feed and be the carp of that industry. They're rushing to the bottom. The cheapest price, the cheapest service, the cheapest employees, cheap. Now, if you have that mindset that you want to be the Walmart of your industry, what pretty much always ends up happening unless you're Walmart?
You have not a very good business.
And you can't pay really good people?
You can't pay really good people.
And you can't use good products.
And you can't use good products.
And you can't do good advertising.
You forget that.
And you end up living in a van down by the river.
Ta-da!
Now, what kind of a profit margin do you think somebody should have if they have a restaurant? If you were coaching a business owner who has a restaurant out there listening today, and they have a very, very nice food, right? Mm-hmm. And you sit down with them and you discover they have a really crappy decor, crappy location, but great food. So you convince them to move to a new location, new menus, new decor, new ambiance, new. The food is good, though.
Good.
What kind of a margin would you sit down? If you had a buddy of yours who has a restaurant, would you say, buddy, we got to be at least a 30% or a 10%? Or what would you, how would you advise someone to do that?
I would shoot any business out there listening. Listen up.
Here we go.
Any business out there listening, unless you're some unique, nobody else is doing it, you invent the widget that is unbelievable.
Unless you're hand-making axes out of
that nobody else can
recycled
make.
grass. Okay,
right,
continue.
out of plutonium.
Right.
Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't even know.
It could be.
I would tell everybody to shoot for that. Shoot for 30% markup and then try to get 20-25% of your gross sales in your pocket. Now, sometimes the busier you are, sometimes you can give up a little bit of that percentage. Sometimes it's not about the percentage, it's about how much you're making too. So sometimes some larger companies, in other words, like a Walmart, they don't try to make 20% of their gross sales.
No, they don't.
They can't.
They can't.
That's not their. But they do so much volume that they can make 4 and 5%.
What about people who lose money and then try to make up for it? People who lose money per transaction, who try to make up for it with volume. They lose money per transaction.
Forbes has a column for these people. Forbes actually has defined these people for us.
Okay.
Forbes is our business Bible, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
We comment on it a lot because, we like for our stuff to be fact-checked.
Right.
So we like to go to reliable sources like the Google and the Forbes.
It's called Forbes, but if you want to mispronounce it at home, you could say F-Orbs.
Oh, you could.
You could. Okay, back to
you have a category for that, and that falls into their 80 to 90% category of failed businesses.
Ooh.
They call it the FB.
Oh.
The failed business.
Now, let's talk about this. This is, again, we'll get back to the interview in just a second. Let's talk about this. OxyFresh has a great billing system, accounting system. They've thought through all the systems, okay?
Right.
But there's a lot of independent carpet guys that are out there that are wanting to invoice people. And I know this because I've met them. And they'll say, hey, I'm having a cash flow problem. And I'll say, what kind of problem do you have? They say, well, I cleaned I cleaned Clay's carpet. I cleaned Dr. Z's carpet. I cleaned the carpets. I'm cleaning carpets.
I've cleaned
a
record number of carpets.
How many carpets are you cleaning? They said, well, I'm cleaning a lot more than before because of your coaching and the mentorship. I'm getting 2 times as many carpets cleaned as before. I'm going, that's good. They said, no, it's bad. I said, how's it bad? They said, well, what's going on is I have been invoicing my clients and they haven't paid me yet.
Oof.
And now I would submit to the business owner, I would say, don't invoice for carpet, nor should the grocery store say, Dr. Z, do you want these avocados, these 7 avocados and this almond milk? Great. Here's an invoice. Pay us in the next 30 days.
Yeah, we'll bill you. Remember back in the good old days when they had the hardwood store? They threw it on the old the old westerns.
Put on your tab.
Put on. I need a sack of sugar.
What is going on with that? Can you please explain to me why a business owner would like to, wants to, needs to invoice like plumbers? Why are plumbers invoicing individuals? See, I had a plumber come to my house probably 3 months ago? No, it was 4 months ago. He comes to my house. And I had a little bit of an issue. He was fixing it. And so I don't remember what it was, but he said, okay, you want to do debit card or credit card? After he did the work, and it was like $80 or something.
Right.
I don't want an invoice.
No.
The builder guy doing the work for me right now, he says, hey, to get started building the deck, I need 25% down to buy the materials. And then I do draws each week as we go. I don't want an invoice from this guy 90 days after he completes the job. I don't want him living like he's homeless because he's trying to finance my deck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I noticed you've been wearing the same clothes for the last 3 days, and it looks like there's some blankets over here in the corner by the corner of my house. He goes, yeah, I've just been, want to get here on time. So
what makes an entrepreneur want to have death by invoice?
I don't know, but you know what? I'm not sure, Clay. Maybe, you've done a lot of business coaching as the world's foremost business coach. What do you think is more challenging for a first or a new entrepreneur, and that is to ask for the business or to ask for the payment of the business?
I think asking for the payment's harder for most people.
And I think so too. And why is that? Why do people just have this mental block in their head?
Well, I have a lot of reasons. And if I can go quasi political just for a second, I'll give it to you.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
Quasi
there we go.
political.
There we go.
There was a study that I was looking at the other day, and they're talking about who's going to run for president in the next 2 years,
Okay.
Democrat and Republican, and they were showing that well over half of millennials will vote for a socialist if they can choose a socialist option. And then the justifications that I was reading this person explaining, they said that once you have enough, you need to be paying 70% taxes. This is what this person was saying. This candidate, she says, once you earn enough,
And we'll decide that, right?
have you heard of this story? Heard of this thing? This person is proposing a 70% income tax once you've made enough.
And what is the enough? That's my.
This is what I'm saying.
Oh, I've heard variations.
So
of
I think
this, you know.
I think that poverty mentality though of like, okay, just because Dr. Z's making a lot, now we should take 70%. 70.
Go to Canada. I think Canada's way up there too.
70. Think about 70%, and the fact that the vast majority of people are saying that sounds great. That indicates to me the vast majority of the Americans who are surveyed have a psychological problem that I could not possibly diagnose.
Well, no, the average person.
Not our listeners.
No, you're right. Not the Thrive Nation.
Yeah, Thrive Nation.
But the
They got it
average
together.
person out there,
Right.
they want to live on somebody else's money. I mean, why
Right.
wouldn't you?
Right.
If you have no ambition, no drive.
Because there it is. So if you want to live on someone else's dime, it's because what you want to do is you want to do the easy route.
Well, sure.
Water runs downhill.
Yeah. I mean,
So
why
people
not?
are saying it's easier not to ask you for the money.
It sounds good.
It's
somebody else pay for my health care.
It's easier to not have to go get a job and work hard.
Somebody else buy my
It's
food.
easier to not have to ask the client, will you pay me?
Well,
It's easier not to ask.
It's easier.
You
There
think
you
it's
go.
easier until you're poor.
That's right.
Then it's harder.
That's right.
So life gets easier when you do hard things. And you know, one of the hard things that Jonathan Barnett's been doing is building the world's best carpet cleaning franchise. This company has 396 locations, and for under $50,000, all of our listeners out there, for 50 grand, you could have yourself your own business.
It's incredible. It's an incredible business.
It's
too.
a move. I think
a move.
Somebody there at OxyFresh is going to say, don't say under 50. Fine. For some amount under $60,000, you could buy a business and be financially free as a result of OxyFresh.
I can hear him now. I can hear him now with Jonathan on the phone.
No, say that.
No, Clay was very firm. I can play it back for you if you want. He said it was 50K. No, I'm not going to pay 53. I'm not going to pay 54 even.
So
Clay said it was 50.
And as of today, they have over 150,000 objective Google reviews. So now, without any further ado, back to the interview. See, this is the rest of the story here.
Okay.
I don't know what year it was. I just know that I had a big DJ company at the time I was in college. I had about 5 or 6 DJs working for me.
Oh, yeah.
It was doing $300,000 or $400,000 a year of this DJ company. And I get a call from this Jonathan Barnett guy who I knew of,
Yeah.
and asks if we can DJ for this college fund fireworks. You know, I'm like, and you offered to do trade out. So we did trade out, and now I know that you made quite a markup on that. But here's the thing: is that was the first year that Vanessa and I ever bought fireworks. Now I buy them every single year. But dude, you traded out like I think $500 of fireworks, and I'm like, this guy's the man.
Oh yeah,
I'm
$100. Yeah.
I'm slaughtering this guy. This guy's just taking advantage of this guy. This guy is just because I think I quoted you like 150, and you're like, nah, let's do $500 of fireworks, and I'm just like, yes,
which is actually less than the 150.
So, but it was a fun gig.
I was playing chess and not checkers with you right there. I was playing a little chess with you, not checkers. But I'm sure that you played more chess with me than I played with you.
Okay, it was a fun event. It was a fun time, and I can vouch for you. You were out there. You guys were sweaty. You were up there all night, all day, every day. And how did you kind of go from the fireworks into the next phase of your career? And what role did your grandfather have in that transformation from the firework king to the carpet king?
Great question. So check this out with the fireworks. This is all going to lead to the franchising, but sleep out there for 2 weeks, sleeping out there. Yeah, I made some money and stuff, but it wasn't like a ton, and it's seasonal. So the next year, I did tents instead of stands, and I could rent the tents for way cheaper than I could build the one stand, and they were bigger. So I looked way bigger, but instead of running the stands myself, I had youth groups do it, and they got paid as a fundraiser, so their whole church would buy. So they had all these flyers, so my sales doubled. And yet I would go, and I had 2 stands in different locations. So I'd swing by picking up the money. They were winning. I was winning. I learned it was a win-win. And I had a lot more fun that summer versus sleeping outside all summer. So I guess looking back, it was really hard, and I was stressed because you do 80% of your sales the last couple of days. So if it rains the last couple of days, man, you're in major trouble. So, but how all this led to what I do now with franchising is I was able to help create an opportunity for a win for that youth group, but also a win for me where I could scale and grow. So franchising isn't too much different than that. Is you're creating opportunity for others to win, but then an opportunity for the brand to win also. And when the brand can win and the franchisee can win, the franchisees can win more because you get more resources, you get more thoughts, you get more fine-tuning in. The more franchisees you have, it keeps getting it. They make you get better.
I want to ask you this. This is my attempt to be non-linear, just to mess with you here. I want to ask you this. You've got some franchisees who are really winning as a result of the OxyFresh system now. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing very, very well. Do you have a particular franchisee that you want to brag on that's been able to utilize the systems and really, really do well with OxyFresh?
Yeah, I mean, you go to different categories, right? But I have lots of franchisees that I would love to brag about. One particular sticks in mind, reminds me of this fireworks story because he's 20 years old. He's a full-time student at Lubbock, Texas, and he's setting records in our system for the most jobs done in his first year of business. And I think he has somewhere over like 300 or 400 Google My Business reviews.
Wow.
And he's a full-time student, and he has 2 techs that are full-time, and he's doing so well. And you know, it's so encouraging to see that if they follow the systems and they have passion and they don't wake up today and just be lazy, but what can I do to work on my business today and make it better? And he's a full-time student, and he's crushing these guys, some of these guys that have owned businesses before or whatever. And we have great franchisees in our system, but I would like to give a shout out to Leo Johns out of Lubbock, Texas for being 20 years old and having that same passion I had when I had the fireworks stand. So
that's awesome.
That'd be one guy that I definitely want to give a shout out to. Yeah.
Well, and it's Leo. His name's Leo.
Leo Johns out of Lubbock, Texas.
See, you know what? That deserves.
Big shout out.
I'd say big shout out to Leo Jones.
Wins of the week.
Yes, Leo Jones wins of the week. Lubbock, Texas. Big shout out to you.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Come on, Andrew, get that light on it. Here we go.
Nice.
The room is spinning. The room is spinning.
Okay, we'll calm down
Okay.
now. So back to the story.
He got an award at our conference this year, and at the award ceremony, Matt was pretty funny. He gave him a bottle of milk since he's 20 and he couldn't drink at the award ceremony. So, but John, we appreciate you, buddy. You're doing great out there.
Z, does it blow your mind that there is a 20-year-old franchise owner in the OxyFresh system right now who's killing it? Does it blow your mind that a 20-year-old is doing that well?
It doesn't blow my mind. I see young people all the time. I mean, when I was a young man, the idea that you have that drive in you. I think if you have that drive in you, and they say there's 67% of the people listening out there want to start their own business, and so that means you've got that little spark, that little seed in you.
If you're 20 years old and you want to be successful, you might not need a degree.
A full disclaimer: if you want to be an optometrist,
you're going to have
to. If you want to be a dentist,
yep.
If you want to be a chiropractor,
yep.
Then you will need to go and get that debt and go to school.
And in those specific instances where you have a profession or a technical skill, I would agree with you, and I am 100% wrong in those isolated incidences.
No, I hear you.
But for
someone out there going, well, man, I want to be a dentist. I just got to throw that.
Man,
how can I do that without going to college?
Man, I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos. And
I heard about that long weekend course in Puerto Rico. I heard about that long weekend course in Puerto Rico. But
so I think that there's the vast majority of people though don't need to get a degree. What you need is a system, a proven system. You need a proven process, systems, strategies. You need if you could have all of that.
You need us.
If you could have all of that, Z, in one place. That would be our business coaching program. If you say, I don't want that, I just want the system, that's an OxyFresh. That's a Papa John's. That's a franchise.
That's a franchise. I tell you
Unbelievable.
What, franchises are wonderful. I think there's 30. How many different franchise opportunities are there out there? Google that.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll say this.
I think Jonathan's going to tell us.
In terms of franchises, I will say this. The failure rate for a startup right now, according to Forbes, is 9 out of 10. So 9 out of 10 startups fail, according to Forbes.
Do you know what we need to look up?
Andrew is looking it up.
And see if you can Google this through Forbes.
Yeah.
See what the number of franchises that start up.
The
fail.
number of franchises. Now,
that would be a fun thing to look at.
And I've sat through and attended many franchise conferences, and I will say that the statistics are almost reverse, Z. So it's like instead of 90%,
very good. You know then. Okay.
Yeah, it's instead of we'll get the actual stat for you, but instead of 90% of startups failing, in the world of franchising, it's like 10%. I mean, it's very little. It's almost completely reversed. We'll get the stats here for you, but you know why franchises don't fail very much?
Because they have a system. They're
Right.
proven.
It's a proven. You can't make up things. You have to disclose your financials.
And they tell you don't even know how much to charge for your sandwich.
Dude, it's crazy.
They've got it all figured out.
It's a push
broke
button.
it down.
You just hit the button.
Guess how many franchises in 2017 were operating in the United States of America?
How many franchises?
I got it right here.
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, it could.
745.
Well, in honor of Tom Brady, I guess 12. What's the number? What do you think?
745,290.
Is that the score of the Patriots versus the Rams?
No, sorry. You could be 291 listening out there.
Repeat that number one more time.
745,290.
745,000.
290.
Oh, Shunda.
That's a
And you
move.
know what one of the fastest growing franchises in the world is right now? It's OxyFresh.
OxyFresh, I know.
And you know what? He's on today's show. Now back to our interview with JB.
Oh, it's awesome. Come on, JB.
That is great. Now okay. Now back to our linear story here. Now, so from the fireworks stand to the OxyFresh. How'd it happen?
Right. Okay. So, you got to live your passions, right? So, if money is your passion, that's to me you're in danger swing. But money is important. It's what makes things work. But my passion at the time was a basketball outreach called Crossover, and as you know, Clay, I played basketball at Oral Roberts. I was a walk-on, so I didn't play a whole lot, but it taught me a lot. But basketball was like my identity and like what I thought, looked at myself as. And that's what, if money becomes your identity or this or that, it's very dangerous for anything you do in your life. So I decided to use basketball as a platform to reach youth around the world. We did a traveling team across the world for 10 years. But I did a 501c3 nonprofit, tried to raise money for multiple years. Everyone just thought I wanted to keep playing basketball. So then I decided, okay, I'm just going to start my own business to fund it. So OxyFresh, the carpet cleaning franchise that you probably want to hear the most about more than fireworks. But the thing is, my why was bigger. OxyFresh would start. My why I started OxyFresh was to help fund something I was passionate about, which was Crossover. So some people's why out there might be their family, more time, because they're 8 to 5. They don't have any time with their kids, or they can't take vacations, or they're stuck. So for me, my why was this Crossover thing. So whatever your why is, if you make that very important, then it'll drive you past, certain obstacles that are bigger than yourself, right?
Did you feel like that your grandfather taught you these lessons? Because he was an entrepreneur. Your grandfather, is that where you got some of this mojo? Was it from your mom? Were you checking out a lot of entrepreneur magazines? Where did this entrepreneurial fire come from?
It's funny because you could hear, people that are brothers and sisters, they have the same parents growing up, they could have different, whatever. But for me, what I took is I did take a lot from my grandfather. He was always inventing things, he always thought outside the box. So he was always never settling, questioning things, thinking there's a better way. And I thought that's how it's supposed to be. I wanted to be like him. So, then on the other hand, my mom was a little bit more opposite, but she was no quit in her, just very tenacious. And then my grandmother was like love no matter what. So I was very blessed to have 3 unique people raise me with their different values that helped me become. And I also got probably my Coach Sutton at ORU was a big, he taught me how to delegate, and I learned so much playing basketball there that I didn't even realize it at the time. So that I use today, which I know you like Belichick in the Patriots, and sports teaches us so much, right?
Sure does.
So
hey, JB, I promise you, there's somebody out there listening, probably more than one, maybe hundreds, that have a successful business, are killing it, doing very well, and they have been told over and over and over, you should franchise this. You should franchise this.
You should franchise this.
You should franchise
this. Is what you should be doing. That's what I've been saying.
Holy cow. Holy cow. And for those out there listening going, oh my gosh, he's read my mail. That's me. Walk them through the initial steps of when you have a successful business, when you figured it out. what to do next, that process of, because it seems pretty daunting to the average entrepreneur, to the average business owner out there. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do that. That's overwhelming. So walk them through the process, the steps, the baby steps to get through for taking a successful business to franchise. 'Cause you've got, what, over 400 now working out there?
We're close to 400. We're right towards 400.
Well,
right
don't
now.
let the facts ruin my good
and a little-
statement.
Yeah, don't let the facts get in the way of the
JP,
truthiness.
Come on.
He's letting the facts
It's
get in the way of the truthiness.
$3.98. I mean, what, you're going to call me a liar for 2 franchises, probably? I mean, come on.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Okay, walk us through.
Okay, so here's the main thing with franchising is it's a very big responsibility. You when someone buys a franchise from you, they could have saved their whole life savings for this. So it's not something to take lightly. But at the same time, if you're planning on franchising your business, you almost start looking at your business differently from day one, right? So because it's not about you can't rely just about the people. You can have the right people. If you have your own business and you're not franchising it, it probably is focused just on the people, and that's fine. But when you get to where you're scaling it and you got to make it bigger and duplicatable and bigger than that one person, you really got to start focusing on your systems and your processes. And sometimes that is such a deep dive that it makes people nauseous, or they'll do it tomorrow, because when you get down into your systems and your processes, sometimes it's like looking yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I got a lot to work on here with myself. So I would say the first thing I would say is if your vision is to franchise it, one is you better make sure your business is profitable. And I always like to say around shoot it for 20%, but it can be less. It can be more depending on how much volume you're doing. A high volume business can be less percentage than a smaller business, but it definitely needs to be profitable, and it needs to be able to be profitable if you could substitute different people in. So not if you don't go to work for a week or for a year and come back, how is your business running?
You said 3 things that I think are going to blow somebody's minds.
Powerful.
Okay, so you said what kind of margin should their business be running at if they want to franchise? Do you think is an approximate kind of a range, best practice?
Yeah. So if you're working in your business as an employee, pay yourself what you would pay someone else with that job. Don't pay yourself a bigger salary just because you're the owner. Pay yourself, that bigger part comes out of the profit, the distributions. Pay yourself what you pay anyone else. Okay. But if you're going to franchise your business, your profitability after you pay all your employees you want it to be profitable, but 20% is what I like to shoot for. But if a higher volume business can be less percentage, right? If you're doing millions of dollars a year in sales for that store, then it can be less. But if you're a smaller business, then that's a good goal to shoot for, right? It's got to be profitable, else you shouldn't be franchising in the first place. Right?
And then you said the business should be able to run without specific people. So let's talk about how you did that with OxyFresh. I remember this specifically. It was the funniest. I just remember reconnecting with you, and I went to your condo in Denver, and it was like you, and I think you had like 3 dudes living with you. Am I making that up? Was it like you, 3 dudes, and a dog? Am I making that up?
When I lived in a little townhouse, I had 5 roommates.
5
and
roommates.
A dog.
Okay,
But the condo, that was 2. That was just 1 roommate.
It might have been the 5 dudes. So anyway, you now had 1 location in Denver that was doing well, and then you lived below your means, and you opened another one, and you live below your means, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to franchise. See all the checklists you have to make, copywriting things, trademarking things, building the franchise disclosure document. How long did you really, really, really live below your means? Like 5 dudes and a condo with a dog. How long were you doing that before you finally got OxyFresh to a place where you could start selling other franchises? How long did that take you?
It's kind of a unique story, and I wouldn't recommend people do it this way from the beginning. But when I franchised it, I franchised it this first year that I started OxyFresh. But the reason why is I had it in my mind that was the model I wanted to go for from the beginning, and we were more of a low cost model, and so we didn't have everything figured out. That was my intent. So from the beginning, I was focusing on the systems and the processes versus just the people, because I knew I wanted to franchise it. But to answer your question, I definitely lived below my means because every dollar that we made, instead of keeping it, my rent was $300 a month with my 5 roommates that you're talking about I had. So we all paid $300 a month. And then a lot of those guys cleaned carpet for me, and I paid them just percentage of the jobs they did. So I had just all my expenses were variable. I had no overhead. And so I was able to keep putting it all back in, and we sold 17 franchises our first year. So,
Talk about the database you used. You had a spreadsheet, right? You had a spreadsheet, cold call technology. I mean, how did you sell those first 10 franchises?
Well, the first 4 were friends and family that they had seen me cleaning carpet and seeing what I was doing for a long time, and they were in different spots in their lives where they wanted to own their own thing. One of them happened to be my mom, and she was a college professor for many years, and so somehow she was getting fed up with that, and I got her to buy a franchise. And so she's been a franchisee in Phoenix.
Did you give her a good deal? Did you give her a good deal? Come on, JB. Did you give her a good deal?
I gave the first 4 out to friends and family. They got a streaming deal. But everyone since has been the regular price. There's been no discount.
I mean, you're like a brother to us. Can we get a deal? I mean,
we'll pay with fireworks.
We're like.
Okay.
I would love to do deals, but the thing is, it's we can get into another call, but the ethics of not what I want to do, but what's right for the other franchisees that have paid, and so that's why we don't do that, even if we want to, just because it's just the right thing to do. But I mean,
Z used to have a podcast called the Ethics Podcast, but he quit doing it.
I was too unethical for it, so I could.
He had to ask you. Okay, so JB, your company now, you guys have over 150,000 reviews as of today. I believe nearly 400 territories. You've got a great support staff. The call center in Denver is rocking. You have the state-of-the-art technology, a turnkey system where someone can call you today and for around $50,000, be in the game as a self-employed person, owning their own business. What was the hardest part of building the OxyFresh franchise to get where it is today?
There's been different phases of hard. I would say in the beginning, the hardest thing would be to we definitely didn't have everything figured out. So when we start, like you bragged on a bunch of things, like our call center, our technology, all that type of stuff, and our reviews. In the beginning, we had 2 products that we cleaned with, right? And we booked jobs on Excel spreadsheets in the basement of that little house, that condo that you were talking about.
Right.
And we had cordless phones, green carpet, orange countertops. And so getting someone to come out and buy a franchise when you're doing your meeting in the hotel lobby, little area that you're in out, is definitely challenging, right? But then you sell a bunch of those and they're doing well. The challenges become different because now you're up to 100 franchisees, they expect more support than you had at the 2. So every year it's a different challenge. So I would encourage the listeners out there, and if you've read of any of my articles or listened to me, I say this because I mean it, but don't wait till everything's perfect to get started. You operate as if you have the green light until you get the red light. And most people they operate as if they have the red light till it turns green. The problem with that is what most people wait till it's perfect to get started, and they never get started. If I would have waited till we had everything that we have here to start, OxyFresh wouldn't exist. I had to start, even though our products weren't perfect. I had to start when our call center wasn't perfect. I had to get started. I had some core things that were fixed. The core things got to be ready to go. Like I knew I would be able to update the products. I knew I'd be able to update the call center once we had more franchisees. And I told the franchisees that. I communicated, hey, we're not perfect. You're getting in at the beginning, but here's our vision, here's our future, and I had a plan. But, so don't just start your business and franchise it just because you don't have everything figured out. Have a plan and a goal to work towards, but don't wait till it's all figured out before you go. Otherwise, you'll never go.
You had the green light in your mind mentally to start OxyFresh. Were you obsessed with carpet as a kid? I mean, you just think to yourself going, wow, that carpet looks hot. That's some good stuff.
That is some good.
Hey,
did you?
I love that.
I saw a commercial the other day where they had a carpet shower. It was a shower.
Have you ever thought about putting in carpet in your shower? Were you into carpet as a kid? What made you want to get into the carpet game?
No, and again, I looked at this business as a vehicle to help me achieve my dreams and goals. So I looked at what is something that's not going to go away, right? I didn't want to build, like at the time there's big yogurt fat franchises coming out, this and that. And I'm like, that could change because, you know, everything keeps changing, all that stuff. But flooring and upholstery, everyone's going to have that forever. So I wanted to trade in the sexiness where people would be like, oh, that's a cool concept you're starting. And I had to walk into restaurants or, you know, on my dates when I'm married now with 5 beautiful children, almost 5. But when I meet people, whatever, what do you do? Oh, I'm a carpet cleaner. You know, that's what I have to say. But you know what? I love saying it made it kind of fun. But no, I didn't dream to be a carpet cleaner. But what I did dream to do is be able to provide for my family. Like I was just telling you guys before we started, I got to play Pebble Beach golf this weekend. Just traveling and letting the business serve me and serve my goals versus I'd rather have that and say I'm a carpet cleaner than, you know, doing something that sounds all cool, but yet I don't have any of the free time that I want to spend it with the loved ones I want.
That was hot.
Oh, you might be able to say instead of a carpet cleaner, you could say I make love to carpet.
You can do that. You'd probably not be allowed to speak at your next convention.
I
would not
I
be
make
allowed.
your carpet. I make your carpet
At our
feel
national
good.
conference this past week, it was called Ignite. So we're getting everyone excited and igniting up for 2019. And I asked them all, everyone in the room, stand up if you're on the first page of Google for the word carpet cleaning in your city. Almost everyone stood up. But then I said, okay, stand up if you dream of being a carpet cleaner when you're growing up. Nobody stood up. I told everyone.
I did. I was into that. I missed my calling.
Can we get Shag back? I want more Shag.
Okay. All right. So my final question, I know Z has a final question for you, but my final question for you is this: how did you go out there and get the first 100 jobs booked when it was just you against the world? You had that green light. You just made a killing selling fireworks. How did you land your first 100 customers? Did you go door to door, house to house, cold call? Man, what were you doing?
This point right here could resonate with anyone in business, and I please just think about this. This is really important. This is fundamental for us from the very beginning. So it was some people out there, they call them they're marketing guys, but they say they're focused on branding. I like branding; it's all good and all, but I'm a marketing guy that likes to track the ROI. And so in the beginning, I used to do door-to-door flyers, right? And I could get the carrier route, 500 flyers from the post office, or that was the route they used, 500 flyers on a door. I'd get 50 cents of business per flyer and pass out. So I knew I could do 500 flyers in 5 hours. So once I figured that out, it's just a math game. 500 flyers, I get 50 cents of business flyer. It's $250 in 5 hours. Okay, I could pay somebody $10 an hour to pass it out. $10 an hour, that's 10 cents a flyer. So I have 40 cents a flyer margin. So it's a numbers game. Labor ready. I had 10-man crew sitting at my front door every morning, 500 bands, 500 flyers, 500 rubber band, or 500 flyers for them to pass out. And there was a different code on each flyer. So I could track the sales off of each one. And I was getting a very positive ROI. Okay, so you're probably wondering, wow, that's great. Sounds amazing. There's a problem. When I did it myself, I got 50 cents of business per flyer. When I had these guys do it, I was getting about 20 cents of business per flyer of business. So I started driving around, and I was seeing all these flyers hanging out of barbecue grills, all sorts of weird stuff, right? So I learned people do what you inspect, not what you expect. But knowing I wanted to scale this, be it franchisable, this wasn't a scalable way. So, right? So I had to do other marketing at scale. But the point of it is, how do we get to those first 100 jobs? I tracked my ROI on whatever marketing I did, and I put the cost of that marketing, and I was able to track the sales. Once you know what cost is creating what sale, then you can do more of it or less of it, right? Most people just do marketing. They don't track it. They don't think about how important that piece is. But once you know, and Dr. Z, if I told you, hey, if you give me $10 doing this, I'll give you 500, you'd probably give me 1,000, right?
I'd give you a lot more than that.
Whoa.
Whoa, okay. Did I just say that out loud?
What baffles me, this is what literally baffles me a lot in business, is that people don't track the ROIs very much on where, when you're answering that phone, you're booking that job. We, in our call center, we get a code. Every marketing piece has a code. In the online marketing, we create a unique URL that is attached onto our URL that goes to our website. So if you put in your zip code, a certain code comes up, so we know where that came from. So we track where everything comes from, and we know what the cost is, so that we can tell franchisees do more of this or do less of it. But if you're not tracking it, and that's the majority of, and then you know what they say when they can't track it? Oh, we're branding.
Right, exactly.
We're just branding.
Now, just in case, we know the Thrive Nation knows these acronyms. We know that the people that listen to us on a daily basis have the acronym. You know, they're very intelligent.
That's
and know
what they know.
ROI means.
Absolutely, they're into
But
Roy.
just in case
They love
somebody
Roy.
wanders onto our podcast who's not in our Thrive Nation,
Surely you
on a
can't be
regular,
serious.
No,
I am serious.
I am?
And don't call me
no,
Shirley.
doing
don't call me
wanders
Shirley.
on.
I mean, I'm just saying. So break down ROI for like an 8th grader.
Yeah, who's Roy?
Or like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, who is he?
Yeah, break that
Okay.
down.
Okay, ROI, return on investment. If I spend $1 on this, how many dollars back does that get me? Okay, then you can multiply it by 100 or 1,000 or whatever you want later. But if I spend $100 on this this part marketing, whether it's Foul Pack or a radio ad, or whatever you're spending it on, you got to be able to track the sales off of that. Then once you track the sales, if you get $400 back and you spend 100, you got a 4-to-1. You could subtract out the 100, so it's 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, however you want to look at it. But you spend 100, you got 400 back. So now, if you're profitable with that, spend 1,000, get 4,000 back. Now, at some point, there's a law of marginal utility, and you're not getting the same, you're not going to get the same return as before. But if you're not tracking that, which is, it's bizarre to me. I got in an argument. I don't know if you guys heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, but we had dinner this past year, and we got in a little heated argument at the table because
Of course
he's a
you did.
branding guy,
About cleaning carpet?
and I'm a numbers guy. And he was trying to tell me how I'm a numbers guy, and that's old school, and he's a branding guy, and what's the ROI on social media, because he wanted to know what's the ROI of my mom. And it was pretty hilarious. But basically, it's harder to track ROI on that stuff, but you still can. But at least be trying to and asking that, because branding is important, but if you can figure out your ROI, then you can scale and duplicate any business you have. If you can know what to spend to create a revenue source back, then you'll be able to scale it.
That's beautiful. And there's if someone listening out there going, yeah, but how do I track that? I mean, you had a clever way on your flyers. You had a different code. I like that. Clay, there's some other ways. You can have different landing pages.
You want on OxyFresh, what is so cool is when you buy a franchise, they're going to have this call center that does all this for you. And if you're out there listening and you don't have a call center, you have to do all this yourself. But either way, the phone rings. You guys are very methodical about asking people how they heard about you. You guys use promo codes.
Yes.
I would say for my businesses, we ask every single person at the point of purchase how they heard about us. And we track it every single time. And we ask, and then we have unique landing pages so we can track. But one of the things that's kind of crazy is some people will go to your landing page and then call you a month later.
It's crazy. Oh, the other thing too, we used to do back old school, and this is I'm old, so this is old school.
Yeah, you and Moses did this move.
We would
together.
have
You teamed
different.
up.
We'd actually sometimes do different phone numbers.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
Different phone numbers.
No
for people
way.
Call in on and track to see where they're coming from.
Not possible.
You can have different landing
Dr.
pages.
Let me talk on this for a second. Is that okay?
Oh yeah,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
I'm going to speak on this. This is a pretty interesting. So you guys talked about they visit your site or splash page, heard splash page, Dr. Z. We used to do splash pages. We don't do those anymore. We put all the pay-per-click content or Google or Facebook. We drive them to the city page of that location, but we just add on a different extension on the end. And what that can do, Dr. Z, is going to blow your mind, is it can dynamically change the phone number on that website, even though the customer doesn't know the phone number changed. Right?
Yeah, beautiful.
On top of that, it dynamically adds a marketing code to the top of that page on our website.
Beautiful.
You guys can try it going to our oxyfresh.com now, but quick there going through a different like Facebook link or a pay-per-click link. The phone number changes. Why? Because when it calls our call center, the phone number, it forwards to a phone number in our call center that has a marketing code on the phone screen saying the pay-per-click code.
Oh.
So the customer they clicked the pay-per-click ad, the code's different than if they clicked our website organically versus a Facebook ad. All of this is going to the same website, but it's dynamically changing the code in the back end so that we can track the ROI properly. So to Gary Vaynerchuk, we can measure the ROI on social media. Boom.
Oh, Clay, that just got me excited right there. I mean, that's just fun technology.
Do you have a question? What's the ROI of your mom?
No, I got a question for you. What's my ROI?
I don't even know that question. That's just such
it's crazy.
big. Well, okay. Well, we'll continue to probably not have him on a guest for yet another reason.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll just continue.
But it was all good fun, though. It was all good fun, and he believes in what he's saying. He's passionate, and he does more of an. He doesn't have individual locations that if they're not doing well, they call and chew him out. So he's his own brand. So I get it. He's branding, and I don't know how, but we definitely, when we can, we track the R when we can, but when we can't, we can't.
Well, there's a lot of people that every year believed hopelessly that the Browns would win, right?
Correct.
But now we have a winner on the team. It's logical to think they're going to win now. They got Baker Mayfield on the team.
Yeah, they won 7 games.
But I mean, people have been like, this is their year. This is their year for what, 20-something years?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a lot like saying you don't need to track your ROI. You can be passionate about it, but you can be passionately wrong.
Well, by tracking it, what it does is it lets you spend your dollars where you get your biggest bang.
Yeah.
You get your biggest bang, So if this gives you a 100 times return, this gives you a 10 times return, you're making money on both.
Who cares about the bang for your buck when you can just be blowing money?
Or fireworks. Blowing up fireworks.
Just blow up your money.
I love that. JB was like, I would have made 20 grand, but we blew up 10K in profit in fireworks. So.
Well, JB, here's the deal. I think I'm going to call this, in faith, part 1 of the Jonathan Barnett Chronicles.
Yes.
Because we really need to have you on for a second show.
Yeah,
John, could you do another show at some point? Can you do another show?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, this will be part 1,
yes.
and we'll reach back out to you in time. We've got to interview Wolfgang Puck between now and then, so I know we got to take the show down a little bit. We got to take down the celebrity status. We'll do Wolfgang Puck, and then we'll come back to you. But if people want to learn more about buying an OxyFresh franchise, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? What's the action step for somebody out there who wants to create time and financial freedom by buying an OxyFresh franchise, or at least learning more about buying one?
Yeah, you can just visit our website at oxyfresh.com or our franchise website at oxyfreshfranchise.com. And just put in the notes that you heard about us on the Drive Time show, so that will help us out, so we can track again, where our leads are coming from. But again, there's lots of great concepts out there. There's 3,800 different franchise concepts out there. So just be careful of what you're looking at and make sure it's the right fit for you. But OxyFresh, we're really enjoying the time that we have right now. And Clay and Dr. Z, thanks for having us on the show. We really enjoyed it.
Hey, big shout out to Rob, to Aaron, to Matt, everybody behind the scenes over there, Kelly at OxyFresh. You guys do a great job. To Jordan, we appreciate you guys so much for making OxyFresh such a great company to do business with. And Z, we like to end every show with a boom.
Every show.
JB, are you prepared to bring a Rocky Mountain boom?
I'm prepared.
Okay, Z, are you ready?
I'm absolutely
Andrew's
ready.
probably ready. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom! All right, Tribe Nation, on today's show, we're going to talk about 2 big ideas. One, what makes the Denver Nuggets superstar player so good? I can't quite figure it out. What makes the Denver Nuggets best player so good? We're going to talk about it here. And then I want to talk about what makes the best and worst franchisees. Not looking for names, but Matt Klein here happens to work with hundreds of franchisees, and they all have access to the same systems. When you go to oxyfresh.com and you buy an OxyFresh franchise, it's a proven system. It's the world's greenest carpet cleaning system. There's a call center that books the jobs for you. And every franchisee has access to the same tools, yet some people perform 10x to that of another franchisee. With the same tools, the same systems, the same training, somebody could be 10 times more effective than somebody else. And so we're going to start off by talking about the Denver Nuggets. Matt Klein, how's it going there, sir?
It's going well. How are you?
Matt, I'm doing great, brother. I got to ask you here, for the listeners out there that don't know, what's your position on the OxyFresh team? How would you describe, what is your role?
Yeah, I'm the director of franchise development. So myself and I have a team of guys that work with me to bring the most qualified candidates through the process of evaluating OxyFresh that eventually become a franchise owner in their market, to where they're then running their own small business. We're supporting them, and they're hiring people, and they're essentially a small business owner at that point. But I get them all the way to the point of becoming a franchise.
So as you look at the franchisees that are the most successful, let's kind of view it like a team. And I'm sure you could think of really great franchisees and really underperforming franchisees. And your job is to, you want everyone to be successful. But let's switch gears just for a second. Let's go Denver Nuggets. This past weekend, I got an opportunity to watch the Denver Nuggets from the skybox up there, from the luxury box suite there. The OxyFresh box suite. And you were introducing me to your best player. Who is the best player on the Denver Nuggets as of 2024?
Name is Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic. And what makes Nikola Jokic so good?
He just does everything right. Team player, he passes correctly. He lets the game come to him. He doesn't force anything. He's a great shooter. I mean, I think statistically, he's probably top 5 players ever in the NBA at this point, statistically wise, in terms of efficiency. So he's just awesome. Everything.
And I'm sure that, all the players on the Denver Nuggets have access to the same coaching, the same training, the same weight room, the same tools.
Yep.
What makes him so good? I mean, what makes it? Is it? We'll break down a few of the moves, just a few moves that he does. That because you watched him play countless times in person. What are a couple moves that he does on the court that are amazing? Maybe they're not that athletic, or maybe not that seemingly hard to do, but they're just incredible moves.
Yeah, so he has like a very uncanny ability to draw multiple people to him while he has the ball that allows other people to be open. And so for him, like, he's a pass first big man that also just leads the team in scoring. So like, he's not only a threat in terms of scoring, but he draws attention of all the defenders and then allows his other teammates to get open. So like, you might see his stats and see he scores 30 points, but you'll realize he also gets 10 assists, which means he's allowed his teammates off of the pass that he made to create 10 more buckets, right? So he's a good scorer, but he's also probably a better passer.
And I think a lot of the things that he does well, you played basketball at a high level in high school, and you also played Division I basketball. I'm sure you've heard coaches preach on doing the things that he does, but yet so few execute at the level he does. Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, he'll never meet the eye test. Like, if you watch him play, he'll never look like he's the best player. He's certainly not the most athletic player on the floor. But I think for him, I think he has an unselfish demeanor about him. I think his goal is to make sure that he has the best chance of winning, and his best chance of winning is everyone on his team playing good at the same time. Whereas if you see a lot of other players, if they're the best player on the team, they're going to be so ball dominant. They're going to get their own points, but that doesn't necessarily mean that their team's going to do well, because maybe they don't have a flow, or they're not getting the ball as much. So for him, obviously he's practiced as much or more than anybody else, because to be the least athletic person on the field and or floor in basketball while also being the most productive is not something you ever see, right? It's just not something you see in basketball. So I think he's put the work in, he's practiced. Part of his greatness is that he's played with the same team for 5 years, right? So he knows their tendencies, what they're going to do. He's just really good to watch.
So let's switch to the OxyFresh team for a second. I mean, if you had to think about like the core 5 moves that you have to do once you buy a franchise and once you've gone through the training, I'm going to identify the 5 moves that I think are key to being successful. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you have a different top 5, but I'm going to rattle off my 5, and I want to get your reaction to them. One, you've got to train people and never be done training people. I mean, you have to train people to clean carpets, but you can never be done training people. You have to commit to the process of always recruiting and training people. I think that's a critical thing to run a successful OxyFresh. Maybe you disagree. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, you should be always looking at better people to replace your current employees. Not because your current employees are bad, but if you're doing the right things by your business, you should always be growing, which means you either have to add more people to your staff, or you have to replace folks that maybe aren't meeting the criteria that you feel is going to be great for your success. So I agree with you there. Also, people that are already on your team. I mean, if you stop training them the moment that they're actually hired, I think you're really kind of you're not giving them what an owner should be giving them, which is ongoing training, right? Ongoing kind of motivation, more tools on which they can do their job better. So I think that's not only in the recruiting phase, but also as they're on your team.
Okay, now the second thing I think OxyFresh owners need to do to be successful is you have to keep your advertisements on. Like you can't turn on your Google ads, turn off your Google ads. You can't stop your online ads, start your online ads. You have to be very consistent. Could you maybe comment on that? Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, whether they're an OxyFresh franchisee or not, they tend to start and stop with their advertising.
Yeah, I see this a lot. There's a thought process out there that when I get to a place where I'm really big, I can stop advertising. It's like, I think what people should think about is the bigger that you get, the more money you get out of the advertising you're spending money on. But your advertising as you grow should never get smaller, it should get larger. But the money that you make off of each dollar should get better. right? And so if you reduce your marketing spend, somebody else in your industry is going to take your place, right? And so you can't stop marketing. You need to look at marketing more areas as you grow, increasing your marketing budget and getting more per dollar spent as you grow.
Okay, next is I really do sincerely believe to run a successful OxyFresh, you can't ever stop gathering objective reviews from customers that like you. I mean, after you've cleaned the carpet, after you've delivered the results, I think it is absolutely critically important to gather an objective review from every single customer that you work with. What say you?
Yeah, I think this is probably even more important than spending money on ads, because even good ads without validation, which to me is reviews, will still kind of lead to lower sales. I mean, if you don't have reviews that are in the current week or at least the current month, customers are pretty savvy, right? They'll look at your business. They'll say, hey, they've been open for 17 years, but they haven't gotten a review in a year. It looks like you're closed, right? So Google knows that. Your customers know that. So yeah, if you stop getting reviews, it looks like you've given up on your business almost. It should be your number one priority as a business owner.
So never stop, this idea of training people, folks. Never, ever stop training and recruiting people if you buy an OxyFresh. Never stop the online ads. Never stop gathering objective Google reviews. Number 4, again, on my list, this is super important. Never stop measuring what you treasure. Like, never stop tracking your numbers. Never stop, because if you do stop, I believe you're going to create problems for yourself. What are your thoughts on the importance of always tracking?
Yeah, this is such an important piece to our business. I mean, we've created all of the ways you can just pull reports. Most small businesses, they struggle at actually getting the information, right? They have to build something to get the information. With OxyFresh, we give it to you with a click of a button. We can tell you what your ROIs are in a given marketing campaign. We can tell you what your overall sales are in a given day and where they came from on a map, right? You can look at what your technicians' upsells are in a given period of time. I even have access to my driving record in a weekly basis and how my employees drive my vehicles, right? And all of those are tangible, numbers that I get. It tells me where my business is good and or bad, or where my employees are good and or bad. If you don't have that information and you're just looking at your bank account monthly, you're going to miss all of the little things that you could be managing on and adjusting your business to get better, right? It could be that your employees driving all over the place, right? For no reason. It could be that you have an entire swath of area in your business where you don't do any jobs, but you're still marketing to that area, right? There's all sorts of ways. So if you don't have a good understanding of your KPIs and your actual business when it comes to numbers, you're going to have a hard time adjusting to what's going to be most beneficial to your business.
Now, the final thing I believe you can never stop doing, and there's a lot more things you should never stop doing if you run an OxyFresh, but is talking to your team on a daily basis, doing a daily huddle, a daily check-in, a weekly meeting. There's got to be some sort of way that you stay in touch with your team. You can't just hire a team of, because many OxyFresh owners have a remote business or a non-owner operated business, meaning that the owner of the franchise doesn't actually clean the majority of the carpets. And I believe you really do have to check in with your team and maintain that rapport. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not closely tied to your employees all of the time, things are going to get missed. I mean, you need to be talking to them, engaging with them. If you can't call your employees and understand from a small conversation if they're having a good or bad day, you're probably not spending enough time with them. I think it's crucial to have a relationship with your employees so they know that at times when it's maybe not great, they have someone that they can rely on, someone that's going to motivate them, someone that's going to steer them in the right direction. So I think, especially if you have employees, they need to be a part of almost your family. Like, they have to be really in tune with you and vice versa.
So, Matt, that being said, those are kind of the top 5 I would identify. Is there anything else that you need to be doing on a daily or weekly basis if you're an OxyFresh owner, where you just have to commit to these core tasks, these fundamentals to be successful?
Yeah, I find that for me, when I'm running my personal business, and you kind of touched on a little bit with the last one, but I find it so important to where if I have expectations that my employees need to meet, those need to be verbalized almost on a daily or weekly basis. Like, I have never stopped talking about, well, that's not true. I have stopped talking about certain things, and what I'll see is them drop, right? And so instead of assuming that I say something one time and then my employees are going to do it forever, that's a bad look. So I always, every time I have a conversation, I have a few key things that I always ask my employees. One, how are you? How's your family? Then I say, what are some of your struggles this week? Also, what's your goal in terms of getting Google reviews and getting commissions? I ask them every single time, and they know that if they have a conversation with me, they should know the answer to that and keep it up, because if they don't get them, that they know the next conversation is going to be why, right? Why aren't we getting these? Why aren't you, because if you don't hold your employees accountable for the things that you require, and you don't keep that up, then they're just going to not do it because they know it's not important to you.
And you've been running an OxyFresh for a long time. I mean, one, as an owner of a franchise, of OxyFresh franchise. Also, you work there as a franchise brand developer. Is there any other core tasks that you feel like the franchisees that are the most successful are knocking out of the park, and the ones that are maybe not as successful are not doing?
Yeah, I think the reviews over time, we've become very, very good at really not instilling to our franchisees the importance of reviews, giving them resources so they can easily get reviews from customers. Because we've learned it's not that customers don't want to give you reviews, it's that they don't want to jump through hoops to do it. So you have to make it extremely simple for someone to give you a review, and they will do it, right? So we've had a great amount of success with reviews. We certainly have more reviews than anybody else in the country. That I'm very confident with. Some of the other stuff is just making sure, most people that we bring through the system has never hired someone before. And so we really need to spend time, and this will always be a challenge because people will, maybe hire the wrong person because it makes them feel good, or they won't read the resumes right. So we just spend a ton of time making sure that, when people are hiring, they know who to hire, what that person needs to be kind of, responsible for, and we're getting better and better at that. But there's always going to be something there where people need to go a little bit through the mud, right? Hire a few people, get their legs underneath them, and make sure they feel comfortable, like, expanding their brand to multiple people, multiple employees.
Now I'm going to pull up I'm going to pull up your website. Why I wanted to dial into the best player on the Nuggets today is that, when you look at him on the court, you wouldn't say, wow, this is the most athletic guy. You wouldn't say this is the fastest guy. And you pointed that out to me as soon as I got into the box. You said, you seen this guy play? And I had never seen him play. And you said, this guy is like the most efficient player you're ever going to see. And having played basketball in high school, I know a lot about the game. And I thought, man, this guy, he's probably the most entertaining player I've ever watched in my entire life. I mean, it's unbelievable how good he is. But at the same time, he's focusing on the fundamentals. You don't see a lot of flashy moves. And I really think that's the key to building a successful OxyFresh franchise. Did you agree with that, Matt? Or do you think you have to be put on a laser show and be the most compelling personality on the OxyFresh roster to be a successful franchisee?
Oh, I agree. I think actually most of the things we do are not flashy. They're not sexy, right? Looking at your KPIs is not sexy, but it's vitally important. Making sure you're talking to your employees about the importance of getting Google reviews and getting upsells is not sexy, right? But it's super important. Making sure that you're actually looking at your Google pages daily and see where you rank compared to your competition so you can set a daily goal. That's not sexy, right? Like, nothing we're doing in this industry is really sexy. But if you just pay attention to what's going on and you actually make the changes and you hold your teams accountable, your business is going to become very sexy because it's going to make a lot of money.
That's unbelievable. And again, folks, I encourage everybody out there, if you do a search today for carpet cleaning quotes, OxyFresh is one of the highest rated, most reviewed companies on the planet of any category, clocking in with 274,754 reviews. Again, the brand's been around for 15 plus years. If you want to learn more about buying an OxyFresh franchise, just go to thrivetimeshow.com/OxyFresh, thrivetimeshow.com/OxyFresh. If you do want to learn more about their proven turnkey system, their history of success, their low startup costs, their cutting edge carpet cleaning technology, you can learn all of that by going to thrivetimeshow.com/OxyFresh. Matt, for anybody out there that's contemplating clicking the button and requesting more information, what would be your final thoughts there, sir?
Yeah, I just definitely do it. We have a lot of ways of owning this business, which people don't realize, whether it's you want to keep your job and create a business on the side for now, because maybe you find that it's too risky to just, cut and then go to something else. We have a great model for that. I'm currently considered a semi-absentee business. I have multiple income streams now because I don't have to pull all the strings for OxyFresh. Also, too, people think that every franchise is $1 million. right? Our investment's 45,000 up front with an additional 25,000 in operating capital. Most people get that financed in some way or another. So there is a way to get into a business. There is a way to create more income for yourself. Most people don't realize that. So set up just go on, fill your information. We'll contact you. It's free. It takes the first call is going to be about 20 minutes. We'll just have a conversation. We'll learn about each other, learn about the business, and see if there's some good synergy to move on to the next phase of that exploration. But yeah, I mean, it's free, doesn't take much time, and I think it's a great resource, because even if you don't go with an Oxfresh, it might just turn something in you to where now you want to explore, entrepreneurship.
Now, Matt, I want to ask you this, I guess my final question here for you. A lot of people have not bought a business before, and I sometimes struggle to relate to that because I haven't really been not self-employed since I was 16 years old. I mean, I worked at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV to save up money to grow my own business, but I've always been self-employed since I was 16 years old. And so I understand the idea of being self-employed. And so the best example I can give you is if you go out there today and you buy a brand new Suburban, I don't know exactly what it's going to cost you, but let's just say it's $75,000 for the Suburban. Maybe someone says it's $60,000. Let's just say it's $35,000. And you go out and get a car payment on that Suburban. Your payment per month is going to cost you, let's say, $1,500 a month to drive that vehicle. I talked to a client the other day, true story, Matt, a longtime client of mine. He said he's spending $2,400 a month on the car payment for his luxury vehicle. $2,400 a month for the payment on his luxury vehicle. And this was a guy that we've been working with for a long time, and he's in kind of a cash crunch because basically he's in the home construction business, and a couple key clients hadn't paid him yet. And so he's trying to, look for extra money. And I said, you spend $2,400 a month on your car payment. That's more than you spend on your online ads. I mean, that's incredible. And again, I've never had a car payment. I'm always the guy who drives the used car that's paid off. I'm not trying to buy a car I can't afford to impress people I don't know. I think buying an OxyFresh is kind of like buying a vehicle, but instead of buying a vehicle that might impress people that you don't know using money that you don't have, you could buy an OxyFresh vehicle that actually produces the potential for you to have time freedom and financial freedom. When you buy an OxyFresh, are most people financing these, Matt, or how does that work?
Yeah, about 70% will finance them through some form, whether it's a retirement rollover, which has become very important, very popular, SBA loans. People do unsecured lines of credit. People do home equity lines of credit, right? People take, like private funds as well. So we have people that will work with you on that. They'll look at 3 criteria. Your credit score has to be above a 670. They'll look at your debt to income, right? And they're going to look at if you've had any bankruptcies. Right? We're not a high net worth franchise. So most people that have a decent financial standing, decent credit, you can get a loan for this.
What kind of credit score do you have to have minimum there?
670 or better.
And do you introduce people to financing options? If someone says, hey, I have a job, I worked at the same job for many years, I want to buy an OxyFresh, potentially look into it. Do you connect people with financing options?
We do, yeah. We'll give you several that you can look at to make sure you're comfortable with the options out there. I mean, even if you're like, let's say you're at 630 credit score, I still wouldn't take it off the table, because what I've found in the last 10 years I've done this, I've probably brought a few hundred people, even if they went through Oxfresh, when they get done with the process, they at least have a decent credit score because they go through a credit repair company that will help them get to a place where they could potentially buy a franchise. And so, it's not that there's very rarely people that can't get funding if they have the will, right? It's just going through the steps to do it.
How long does it take to become an OxyFresh franchisee once somebody decides to buy one? Are we talking about a year of training, or how long does it take to get trained to be an OxyFresh owner?
Yeah. So the evaluation process typically takes about 30 to 90 days. The onboarding process, when someone's decided, will take about 30 to 45 days from the time you actually invest to getting training, getting Google pages up, and actually opening your doors. So it's a pretty quick ramp up. Because we don't have real estate, we don't have to deal with any of that. We can spin up a business locally where you live in a matter of 1 to 2 months.
Matt, I'll leave you with this thought here. Whenever somebody recommends a movie to me, I always worry because I think it might take our relationship to the bottom or to the top. I don't know. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you should watch this movie." And I give an example. A friend of mine years ago, he says, Jeremy, he says, "Clay, you're going to love this movie." I said, "What is the movie?" He said, "Oh, dude, just watch it. Go, dude, just listen. Don't even ask me about it. You're going to love it. It's incredible." So I find myself watching Fargo with my wife, Fargo. And I thought to myself, about halfway through the scene where they're putting a person through the wood chipper, I thought to myself, this might be the worst movie I've ever seen. And my friend says to me, this movie was incredible. What'd you think about it? What'd you think, Clay? How was it? The next morning he says, how was the movie? Did you love it? It's incredible, isn't it? And I'm going, no. This was, in fact, the worst movie I have ever seen. And I now think less of you, and I'm trying to work through the cognitive dissonance. I thought you were an A caliber guy. You recommended me a D- movie. I don't know how to deal with this emotion here. I am super, super glad that you said, Clay, hone in on the big fundamental, our player here on the Denver Nuggets. And for anybody out there that doesn't know his name, Matt, can you tell us his name again? Because it was truly the most incredible experience I've ever had watching NBA. And I used to watch a lot of NBA.
Yeah, his name's Nikolai Jokic. It's either Nikolai.
He's like the most underrated. He's the most underrated person I've ever seen. I mean, this guy's Matt. I mean, it is incredible. Matt, did your brain explode every time you watch this guy? I mean, he's great.
Watched him for years. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, he is the reigning NBA champion MVP. So it's not that he's not noticed, I think, but he's just he's so unorthodox that it's fun to watch.
It's incredible. Matt Klein, thank you so much, sir. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.
Bye. Tim Redmond, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Clay Clark, I am a man that's grateful because of you and for you. You've been an amazing impact in my life. I'll just say that up front.
Well, you and I have a unique relationship because you were my boss for a long time, and then I had the opportunity to work with you as a consultant, and we've been able to work back and forth with each other.
Oh, you've been hugely helpful. My life is different because of you.
All right, Thrive Nation, on part one of today's show, we just shared with you an incredible success story, Jordan, about a longtime client who grew her business by 42.2% year over year. And that is an incredible number. And again, this incredible woman, she sells goat soap. Now, Jordan, in your mind, let's say that was not our client, that was not your client, and you weren't, if you heard somebody say, yeah, I've worked with the Clay Clark coaching team and I've grown my business in 1 year by 42.2%. Does that sound believable?
I would say, yeah.
Sounds believable.
Yeah, if somebody was like, oh yeah, 3,000%, I was like, okay,
but 42.2% seems believable to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, James, I want to ask you now, imagine, James, that we worked with a client and I were to tell you that we helped this client to grow his business we helped his business double every year. I mean, imagine that I said to you that we had worked with Tim Redmond, Timredmond. Imagine I said we worked with Tim Redmond, Tulsa business consultant Tim Redmond, and we helped him double every year. Would that seem believable to you?
It's hard to believe. I mean, knowing you, I trust what you say because you tell the truth, but double every year, that's incredible.
I mean, Jordan, if you didn't know me, you didn't work here, you hear on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we were talking about Tim Redmond and how we helped him double his business every year. I mean, doesn't that seem impossible, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, double every year, that's awfully consistent. I don't know. I mean,
it's really hard to double a business. And just so we're clear, the number that you're doubling every year just becomes bigger and bigger. If you're doubling, so in Tim's case, he started out and he said, Clay, I used to always have between 5 and 20 clients. Let me read the quote. He says, I would have anywhere from 5 clients to 20 clients on my own with networking, but I had no control over it. Now we are in excess of 100 clients. I have doubled every year since working with you. It's 100% growth every year. I've doubled 5 times. That's why I started coaching, but it would go up and it would go down, Clay. That's why I came to you. I mean, wow. So on part 2 of today's show, folks, you're going to hear his testimonial. But I thought we could do is just to share maybe some of the things about the Tim Redmond story and really what we're doing right now is we're having Tim Redmond, would you call it Appreciation Day, James, or Tim Redmond Appreciation Month, or Tim Redmond Appreciation Year? Or what would you say?
We're at Tim Redmond Appreciation Month, approaching Tim Redmond Appreciation Year.
I bet you, we've done 11 podcasts so far appreciating Tim Redmond in some shape or form. I bet you we're going to do 365 this year. That's what I believe. Now we might do more. We might do a little bit more than that, but the main thing we want to do is we want everybody out there to know that you too can achieve massive success. But I want you to know the things we did for Tim Redmond that are a little bit different than what we would do from a typical client. Okay, so first thing, Jordan, why don't I let every single client, again, if anybody becomes a client of ours, we charge them $1,700 a month, 1,700 per month as of 2024, and we make a 20% margin per client. So we're making $340 a month per client. Why don't we let every client just office in our office for free?
Because then there would be no room for anybody to do anything.
Okay, and what would be another reason why we don't let every client office in our office building for free?
For free, every client, just because every client is not gonna be a great fit. So if we take someone on and we're giving them a free space in the office, that's
and we gave Tim Redmond a free office, a space in our office. And James, you have never met Tim Redmond, but why have you heard that we gave Tim Redmond free office space to office for years?
Well, I heard he's an honest guy who always honors his agreements.
Well, that's what Tim Redmond was. He was an honest guy who always honored his agreements, and that's the kind of guy he was. Now, let's walk you through a couple of other things. For Tim said to me, Clay, I don't have any employees that know how to coach clients. So in the event that I get clients, I don't know how to coach them down your path. So I taught Tim Redmond my proven coaching system. I let him license/use my coaching system. And I even taught his son how to become his first employee coaching clients. And I taught his next employee. And I actually let his whole team attend my daily coaches meetings, my weekly staff meetings. I let them shadow me. I let them have full access. We actually are the first cold callers that made cold calls for Tim Redmond and the RedmondGrowth.com, RedmondGrowth.com. We let all of those clients, we let our team make the calls for Tim Redmond. So again, Tim Redmond got to use our team to make his first cold calls on behalf of his business. Now, again, Jordan, why don't we do that for every client?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. Just because everyone, we can't give everyone everything. So we gave
It's
Tim
not
Redmond,
possible.
No, we gave him everything.
Dude, imagine you showed up in my life and you said to me, hey, Clay, I want you to help me grow my consulting business. And I said, what do you mean consulting? You say, well, I want to learn your system. I want to office in your office for free. I want you to use your employees to make calls because I don't have any. I want you to onboard my first employees because I don't have any. I want you to teach my son how to become a business consultant. Wow.
It's like a real life cheat code.
And we did it. And James, why did we do it for Tim Redmond?
Oh, because he's an honest guy who always honors his agreements.
That's the kind of guy he was. He was an honest guy who would always honor his agreements. And we're actually putting the agreement on today's show notes so you can read it and look at it yourself. It's an incredible agreement. And we helped Tim Redmond to grow from where he said between 5 and 20 clients to over 100 plus clients. And on today's show, to again on the show notes to make it easier for you folks, if you're looking there for more information about Tim, I've put all the information about him. You can learn more about Tim and what he does and how he did it. But let me just walk you through the things that we taught Tim Redmond how to do. You ready?
Ready.
We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to generate consistent business coaching leads. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to build a business coaching consulting business. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond my entire proven system, online ads, web development, videography, photography, web, all of that. And we let Tim Redmond and Robert Redmond use my team all on we only charge them $750 per new client. So they didn't even have to pay up front for the use of those teammates. They just paid if they landed a new client. I actually onboarded Tim and Robert Redmond's first clients for them using my 13-point assessment system. I actually taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to create workflows. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to build RedmondGrowth.com. I actually built the Tim Redmond logo. I built the Tim Redmond core story. I built the Tim Redmond value proposition. I built the Tim Redmond outbound sales scripts. I built the Tim Redmond headshots. I built the Tim Redmond PR kit. I taught Tim Redmond how to use call recording using ClarityVoice.com. I taught Tim Redmond how to hire, inspire, train, and retain call representatives that made the outbound calls for Tim Redmond to acquire new clients. I provided Tim Redmond free office space so that he would have an office environment that would be attractive for recruiting Redmond Growth's first new employees. I let Tim Redmond learn how to conduct the weekly group interview so that he could find and hire employees. I actually conducted the group interview for him. I conducted the Monday morning meetings to train Tim Redmond's first employees. I actually provided coaching meetings and training for Tim Redmond's team for years. I actually trained Tim Redmond's first coach and consultant, Tim's son, Robert Redmond. I actually taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond search engine optimization. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how meta content works for websites. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to build landing pages that convert. I actually taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to write search engine optimization content. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to train a sales team. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to conduct the group interview. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to launch online advertisements. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to track online advertisements. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to turn speaking events into viable leads. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to acquire new clients. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to do the initial client onboarding. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to retain clients. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to lead a business workshop conference by allowing Robert and Tim Redmond to speak for free, James, at our Thrive Time Show workshops.
It's incredible.
Workshops, I've been doing that since 2005. I've been doing workshops. I said, you guys can come speak at my workshops for free so you can learn how to do it. But why would I do that?
Because he's an honest guy who always honors his agreements, Clay.
That's the kind of guy he was, and you wouldn't do a deal like this unless that's the kind of guy Tim Redmond was. Now we continue. I let Tim Redmond and Robert Redmond paint the door red, the exterior door on my office building, so that people would have a door they could go into that would be separate from our main door. I actually designed their interior office space so that it would be conducive for hiring new employees. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond the importance of holding a daily staff meeting and huddle to prevent drifting. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond the importance of holding a weekly staff meeting to audit sales calls and to verify that team members are in fact following and implementing the sales systems, scripts, and processes. This is big. And I don't think, again, somebody would say, Jordan, wow, why would you do that? I mean, do you hate yourself? Are you nuts? Well, the thing is, what I find is we can create a win-win relationship, Jordan, with a lot of clients.
Yeah.
So a lot of our clients, we say, hey, we're going to help you grow. We just want a percentage of the growth. And in the case of Tim Redmond, I said, hey, we'll let you use our systems. You just pay me $750 per new client that you add, which, if you get to 100 clients, that's a $75,000 a month income. And we help Tim Redmond to get there. But I think a lot of people hear about the Tim Redmond success story, and a lot of people reach out to me and they go, man, that Tim Redmond guy, man, I want to do what he did, man. I want to get that free office space. I want to get the free training. I would like it if you could hire my employees. What if you could just teach me all your systems? And again, why wouldn't we do that for every single person, Jordan?
Because we can't run everyone's business for everyone.
There you go. But you know what, James? You know why we did run it for Tim Redmond?
I know exactly why. He was high integrity. He's an honest guy that always honors his agreements.
Well, maybe it's just me, but he really sounds like an honest guy.
That's the kind of guy he was, and that's why we helped Robert and Tim Redmond grow Redmond Growth a lot like that. It's incredible, folks. You should read the agreement. And so we taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to improve their branding for their clients in a linear fashion. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to install a three-legged marketing stool. We taught them what a three-legged marketing stool was, actually. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to install a three-legged marketing stool for their clients. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond what a three-legged marketing stool was. We taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to build a one-sheet for their clients. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to create a one-sheet for Redmond Growth. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to write a pre-written sales email. We taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to create a sales culture and outbound call center. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to create tracking sheets for clients that are usable and trackable. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to use checklists, how to create checklists and repeatable processes for clients. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond what practical business books should be used to teach clients. This just in, there are thousands of books, James.
Right.
And if you go to the business section of a bookstore, you might say, holy crap, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
So we taught, we said, Tim, you got to read The Ultimate Sales Machine. This is one of the books you got to, because there's all these books you could read, but I said, you got to read The Ultimate Sales Machine. You got to read Soft Selling in a Hard, and I'm just taking notes right here, folks, so you can hear me typing away. In a Hard World by Jerry Vass, an incredible book. I interviewed Jerry Vass, may he rest in peace. The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. I never did interview him before his passing, but he was an incredible sales trainer. We taught Robert and Tim Redmond, to read the book Winning by Jack Welch. And these are all there's so many business books that exist, but it's like, what are the good ones? Which ones should I read? Which ones should I not? We walked them through that entire process. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to train business coaches by actually training the Redmond Growth business coaches myself. I actually taught Robert and Tim Redmond the importance of having a weekly accountability meeting with their clients to prevent drifting. I actually taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to gather video reviews from happy clients. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to enhance their online reputation. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to produce podcasts. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to document client success stories and case studies. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to create effective no-brainer offers for their clients. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to design online and offline advertisements that generate leads. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to generate speaking opportunities via online marketing. I taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to create a history timeline. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to create an About Us video. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to create a How It Works video. I taught Robert and Redmond how to utilize public relations to increase their online conversion. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to use WordPress sites, and I allowed them to use my proven systems and templates for the web development process. I actually taught Robert Redmond and Tim Redmond how to create WordPress websites. I taught Robert and Tim Redmond how to start and grow a business coaching and business growth business. And I did this because Robert and Tim Redmond had entered into a signed contractual agreement where Tim Redmond agreed to pay me a flat monthly fee of $750 per month per new client he added to facilitate the growth of his clients. So he could charge his clients whatever price he wanted, and I would get that $750 a month. And I'm going to put a link so people can read the agreement if they want to. And James, you wouldn't want to pressure someone into signing an agreement like that. I would never do that.
Of course not.
So, Jordan, why do you think I give somebody an agreement like that, like a guy like Tim Redmond? Why would I give him the agreement, the win-win, long-term license agreement? Why would I give that to him well in advance so that he could read it for days, weeks, months before signing it?
That way he could comb through it and make sure it was exactly what he wanted to do.
That way there's no surprises in it, right? So he knows what he's signing up for. And then James, why would I not enter into a deal like that with almost anybody?
Because money's a magnifier, and you want to make sure that whoever you have an agreement with, that they're an honest person who's going to honor the agreement.
And although somebody's past is no indication of their future and vice versa, you sort of look for patterns over time.
Right.
And so from what you've heard, James, what did we know about Tim Redmond's character?
Well, he's high integrity. He's got a high character. He's a hard worker, and he wants to help people grow. And he's just an honest guy who honors his agreement, Clay.
That's the kind of guy he was. And that's why we entered into the agreement. He was the kind of guy who always honored his agreements. And so on the next portion of today's show, you're going to hear Tim Redmond talk about how we helped him grow. But I just want people to understand this. Our business consulting business, typically we help somebody double their company in the first 12 months. That's pretty easy to do. But it's not super easy to double every year because that number gets larger every year. And the only way that I would know how to sustain that record of growth is to have a certain intensity to the coaching process, which frankly is not scalable. I mean, you'd have to office in my office. You would have to have access to my team for basically working on a commission-only basis. You would have to have a lot of focus on your business that would be disproportionately unscalable. And that's what we offered for Tim Redmond. So I didn't want anybody out there to think that this success story is unbelievable. Guys, I really do appreciate your time. For anybody looking for images of Tim Redmond, and I know you are, we've got a complete gallery, I think, on today's show. You can click down there. You're going to see like there's probably 250, maybe 300 images of Tim Redmond, which have been optimized. So anybody out there looking for Tim Redmond can find Tim Redmond. We've got video clips where you can find any videos of Tim Redmond talking about all things that Tim Redmond Business Consulting can do. I mean, if you're looking for all things Tim Redmond, you're gonna find it on today's podcast. It's a blasty blast. It's gonna be mind changing, mind expanding, and it is real. So without any further ado, let's end this segue with a boom. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. If we go back 8 years ago, think about the number of clients you had back then versus the number of clients you have now. As a percentage, what has been the growth over the past 8 years, do you think? We got to inspire somebody out there who just doesn't have the time to listen to their calls.
Okay, so Clay, it's like I would go up and down from about $10,000 a month up to about $40,000, but it's up and down roller coaster. And so now we've got it to where we're in excess of 100 clients.
That's awesome.
And so I would have anywhere from 5 clients to 20 clients on my own with networking, but I had no control over it. I didn't, without the systems, you're going to be victimized by your own business.
For somebody out there who struggles with math, if you, let's say that your average number of clients was 30 and you go to 100, as a percentage, what is that?
I have doubled every year since working with you. So I've doubled in clients, I've doubled in revenue every year. It's 100% growth every year I've worked with. Now, so I'm looking, we've been good friends 7-8 years, and I've got doubled 5 times.
Which is just incredible. I mean, the first time you do it, that's one thing, but when you do it repeatedly,
yeah,
I mean, that's unbelievable.
We're working our Blessed Assurance off this year to double. We're planning on doubling again. We're incorporating some new things in there to really help us do it, but we are going to double again this year. I started coaching, but it would go up and down, Clay. That's when I came to you, as I was going up and down, and I wanted to go up and up instead of up and down. And so that's when it needed a system. So creating a system is you have nailed down specific steps that you're going to take no matter how you feel, no matter the results. You lean into them and you do them regardless of what's happening. You lean into them and it will give you X number of leads. You follow up with those leads, turns into sales. Well, I tell you, it's if you don't have a script and you don't have a system, then every day is a whole new creation. You're creating a lot of energy just to figure out what are you going to do.
Right.
And the best executives, Peter Drucker is a father of modern management. He said the most effective executives make one decision a year. What you do is you make a decision, what is your system, and then you work like the Dickens to make sure you follow that system. And so that's really what it's all about. So with a script here, we have a brand new gal that just came in working for us. She nailed down the script, and she's been nailing down appointments. Usually we try to get one appointment for every 100 calls. We make 200 to 300 calls a day per rep.
Right.
And she's been nailing down 5 and 8 appointments a day.
Somebody out there is having a hard time.
That script.
So she's making how many calls a day?
She's making between 200 and 300 calls a day.
Whoa. And our relationship is weird in that we do. If someone were to buy an Apple computer today, and or let's say you bought a personal computer, a PC, the computer is made by, let's say, Dell, but then the software in the computer would be Microsoft, let's say, or Adobe or whatever that is. So I basically make the systems, and you're like the computer and I'm like the software. It's kind of how I would describe our relationship. Yeah. Tim, I want to ask you this. You and I reconnected. I think it was in the year 2000 and what was it? Maybe 2010. Is that right? 2011, maybe, or no, maybe further down the road. Maybe 2013.
2012.
Okay, so 2012, and at that time I was 5 years removed from the DJ business, and you were how many years removed from tax and accounting software?
It was about 10, 11 years.
We met. How did we re-meet? What was the first interaction? There was some interaction where you and I first connected. I just remember that somehow you and I went to Hideaway Pizza. But do you remember when we first reconnected?
Yeah. Well, we had that speaking thing that.
There it was. So it was Victory Christian Center. I was speaking there.
My name is Robert Redmond. I actually first met Clay almost 3 years ago to the day. I don't know if he remembers it or not, but I wasn't working with him at the time. I asked to see him and just ask him some questions to help, direct my life, to get some mentorship. But I've been working with Clay for now just over a year. The role I play here is a business coach, business consultant. I work with different businesses, implementing best practice processes and systems that I have learned here by working with Clay. And the experience working here has, to put it real plainly, has been just life-changing. I have not only learned new things and have gained new knowledge, but I have gained a whole new mindset that I believe wherever I end up will serve me well throughout the rest of my life. Since working with Clay, I have learned so much. I mean, I would like to say almost everything about business in terms of the different categories. I haven't learned it all, but I've learned all about marketing. I've learned about advertising. I've learned about branding. I've learned how to create a sales process for organizations in any industry. I've learned how to sell. I've learned how to create repeatable systems and processes and hold people accountable. You know, how to hire people. It's almost like every aspect of a business you can learn. I have learned a lot in those different categories. And then, again, the mindset that I've gained here has been huge. You know, working here, you can't be a mediocre person. You are called to a higher standard of excellence. And then as you're called to that standard here, you begin to see those outcomes in every area of your life. That standard of excellence that you want to implement no matter what you're involved in. I would like to describe the other people that work with Clay are people that are going somewhere with their life. Marshall in the group interview talks about how you know, the best fits for this organization are the people that are goal-oriented. So they're on their own trajectory, and we're on our own trajectory. And the best fits are those people where there can be a mutually beneficial relationship, that as we pursue our goals and we help the business pursue those goals, the business helps us pursue our goals as well. And so I'd say people that are driven, people that want to make something of their lives, people that are goal-oriented, they're focused, and they're committed to overcoming any adversity that may come their way. Clay's passion for helping business owners grow their businesses it's unique in that I don't know if there's anyone else that can be as passionate. You know, whenever a business starts working with Clay, it's almost as like Clay is running that business in the sense that he has something at stake. You know, he's just serving them. They're one of his clients, but it's as if he is actively involved in the business. Whenever they have a win, he's posting it all over his social media. He's shouting it across the room here at Thrive. You know, he's sending people encouraging messages. He can kind of be that life coach and business coach in terms of being that a motivator and that champion for people's businesses. It's again unique because there's no one else I've seen get so excited about and passionate about other people's businesses. The kind of people that wouldn't like working with Clay are people that are satisfied with mediocrity. People that want to get through life by just doing enough, by just getting by. People who are not looking to develop themselves, people who are not coachable, people who think that they know it all and they're unwilling to change. I would say those are the type of people. In short, anyone that's content with mediocrity would not like working with Clay. So if you're meeting Clay for the first time, the advice I'd give you is definitely come ready to take tons of notes. Every time Clay speaks, he it gives you a wealth of knowledge that you don't want to miss. I remember the first time that I met Clay. I literally carried a notebook with me all around. I was looking at this notebook the other day, actually. I carried a notebook with me all around, and I just took tons of notes. I filled the entire notebook in about 3 or 4 months just from being around Clay, following him, and learning from him. And then I would say come coachable. Be open to learning something new. Be open to challenging yourself. Be open to learning and adjusting parts about you that need to be adjusted.
Hello, my name is Charles Kolaw with Kolaw Fitness. Today I want to tell you a little bit about Clay Clark and how I know Clay Clark. Clay Clark has been my business coach since 2017. He's helped us grow from 2 locations to now 6 locations. We're planning to do 7 locations in 7 years and then franchise. And Clay has done a great job of helping us navigate anything that has to do with like running the business, building the systems, the checklists, the workflows, the audits, how to navigate lease agreements, how to buy property, how to work with brokers and builders. This guy's just amazing. He's this kind of guy has worked in every single industry. He's written books with like Lee Crockrell, head of Disney, with the 40,000 cast members. He's friends with like Mike Lindell. He does Reawaken America tours, where he does these tours all across the country, where 10,000 or more people show up to some of these tours. On the day-to-day, he does anywhere from about 160 companies. He's at the top. He has a team of business coaches, videographers, and graphic designers and web developers, and they run 160 companies every single week. So think of this guy with a team of business coaches running 160 companies. So in the weekly, he's running 160 companies. Every 6 to 8 weeks, he's doing Reawaken America tours. Every 6 to 8 weeks, he's also doing business conferences where 200 people show up, and he teaches people a 13-step proven system that he's done and worked with billionaires, helping them grow their companies. So I've seen guys from startups go from startup to being multimillionaires, teaching people how to get time freedom and financial freedom through the system. Critical thinking, document creation, putting it into organizing everything in their head to building it into a franchisable, scalable business. Like one of his businesses has like 500 franchises. That's just one of the companies or brands that he works with. So amazing guy. Elon Musk, kind of like smart guy. He kind of comes off sometimes as socially awkward, but he's so brilliant, and he's taught me so much. When I say that, like Clay is like, he doesn't care what people think when you're talking to him. He cares about where you're going in your life and where he can get you to go. And that's what I like him most about him. He's like a good coach. A coach isn't just making you feel good all the time. A coach is actually helping you get to the best you. And Clay has been an amazing business coach. Through the course of that, we became friends. I was really most impressed with him is when I was shadowing him one time. We went into a business deal and listened to it. I got to shadow and listen to it. And when we walked out, I knew that he could make millions on the deal. And they were super excited about working with him. And he told me, he's like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to turn it down, because he knew it was going to harm the common good of people in the long run. And the guy's integrity just really wowed me. It brought tears to my eyes to see that this guy, his highest desire was to do what's right. And anyways, just an amazing man. So anyways, impacted me a lot. He's helped navigate anytime I've got nervous or worried about how to run the company, or navigating competition and an economy that's like, I remember we got closed down for 3 months. He helped us navigate on how to stay open, how to get back open, how to just survive through all the COVID shutdowns, lockdowns.
I'm Rachel with Tip Top Canine, and we just want to give a huge thank you to Clay and Vanessa Clark.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan with Tip Top Canine. Just want to say a big thank you to Thrive 15. Thank you to Make Your Life Epic. We love you guys, we appreciate you, and really just appreciate how far you've taken us.
This is our old house, right? This is where we used to live a few years ago. This is our old neighborhood. As you can see, it's nice, right?
So this is my old van and our old school marketing, and this is our old team. And by team, I mean it's me and another guy.
This is our new house with our new neighborhood.
This is our new van with our new marketing, and this is our new team. We went from 4 to 14, and I took this beautiful photo. We worked with several different business coaches in the past, and they were all about helping Ryan sell better and just teaching sales, which is awesome, but Ryan is a really great salesman. So we didn't need that. We needed somebody to help us get everything that was in his head out into systems, into manuals and scripts, and actually build a team. So now that we have systems in place, we've gone from 1 to 10 locations in only a year.
In October 2016, we grossed 13 grand for the whole month. Right now it's 2018, the month of October. It's only the 22nd. We've already grossed a little over 50 grand for the whole month, and we still have time to go. We're just thankful for you, thankful for Thrive and your mentorship, and we're really thankful that you guys have helped us to grow a business that we run now instead of the business running us. Just thank you times 1,000.
The Thrive Time Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the highest and most reviewed business workshops on the planet. you can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you. If we go back 8 years ago, think about the number of clients you had back then versus the number of clients you have now. As a percentage, what has been the growth over the past 8 years, do you think? We got to inspire somebody out there who just doesn't have the time to listen to their calls.
Okay, so Clay, it's like I would go up and down from about $10,000 a month up to about $40,000, but it's up and down roller coaster. And so now we've got it to where we're in excess of 100 clients.
That's awesome.
And so I would have anywhere from 5 clients to 20 clients on my own with networking, but I had no control over it. I didn't, without the systems, you're going to be victimized by your own business.
For somebody out there who struggles with math, if you, let's say that your average number of clients was 30 and you go to 100, as a percentage, what is that?
I have doubled every year since working with you. So I've doubled in clients, I've doubled in revenue every year. It's 100% growth every year I've worked with. Now, so I'm looking, we've been good friends 7-8 years, and I've got doubled 5 times.
Which is just incredible. I mean, the first time you do it, that's one thing, but when you do it repeatedly,
yeah,
I mean, that's unbelievable.
We're working our Blessed Assurance off this year to double. We're planning on doubling again. We're incorporating some new things in there to really help us do it, but we are going to double again this year. I started coaching, but it would go up and down, Clay. That's when I came to you, as I was going up and down, and I wanted to go up and up instead of up and down. And so that's when it needed a system. So creating a system is you have nailed down specific steps that you're going to take no matter how you feel, no matter the results. You lean into them and you do them regardless of what's happening. You lean into them and it will give you X number of leads. You follow up with those leads, turns into sales. Well, I tell you, it's if you don't have a script and you don't have a system, then every day is a whole new creation. You're creating a lot of energy just to figure out what are you going to do.
Right.
And the best executives, Peter Drucker is a father of modern management. He said, the most effective executives make one decision a year. What you do is you make a decision, what is your system, and then you work like the Dickens to make sure you follow that system. And so that's really what it's all about. So with a script here, we have a brand new gal that just came in working for us. She nailed down the script, and
Yep.
she's been nailing down appointments. Usually we try to get one appointment for every 100 calls. We make 200 to 300 calls a day per rep.
Right.
And she's been nailing down 5 and 8 appointments a day.
Somebody out there's having a hard
Follow
time.
that script.
So she's making how many calls a day?
She's making between 200 and 300 calls a day.
And our relationship is weird in that we do. If someone were to buy an Apple computer today,
Yeah.
and or let's say you bought a personal computer, a PC, the computer is made by, let's say, Dell, but then the software in the computer would be Microsoft, let's say, or Adobe or whatever that is. So I basically make the systems. And you're like the computer, and I'm like the software. It's kind of how I would describe our relationship. Yeah. Tim, I want to ask you this. You and I reconnected. I think it was in the year 2000 and what was it? Maybe 2010. Is that right? 2011, maybe, or no, maybe further down the road. Maybe 2013.
2012.
Okay, so 2012, and at that time I was 5 years removed from the DJ business, and you were how many years removed from tax and accounting software?
It was about 10, 11 years.
We met, how did we re-meet? What was the first interaction? There was some interaction where you and I first connected. I just remember that somehow you and I went to Hideaway Pizza. But do you remember when we first reconnected?
Yeah, well, we had that speaking thing that...
there it was. So it was Victory Christian Center. I was speaking there.
My name is Robert Redmond. I actually first met Clay almost 3 years ago to the day. I don't know if he remembers it or not, but I wasn't working with him at the time. I asked to see him and just ask him some questions to help, direct my life, to get some mentorship. But I've been working with Clay for now just over a year. The role I play here is a business coach, business consultant. I work with different businesses implementing best practice processes and systems that I have learned here by working with Clay. And the experience working here has, to put it real plainly, has been just life-changing. I have not only learned new things and have gained new knowledge, but I have gained a whole new mindset that I believe wherever I end up will serve me well throughout the rest of my life. Since working with Clay, I have learned so much. I mean, I would like to say almost everything about business in terms of the different categories. I haven't learned it all. But I've learned all about marketing. I've learned about advertising. I've learned about branding. I've learned how to create a sales process for organizations in any industry. I've learned how to sell. I've learned how to create repeatable systems and processes and hold people accountable. How to hire people. It's almost like every aspect of a business you can learn. I have learned a lot in those different categories. And then, again, the mindset that I've gained here has been huge. Working here, you can't be a mediocre person. You are a call to a higher standard of excellence, and then as you're called to that standard here, you begin to see those outcomes in every area of your life. That standard of excellence that you want to implement, no matter what you're involved in. I would like to describe the other people that work with Clay are people that are going somewhere with their life. Marshall in the group interview talks about how the best fits for this organization are the people that are goal oriented. So they're on their own trajectory, and we're on our own trajectory. And the best fits are those people where there can be a mutually beneficial relationship, that as we pursue our goals and we help the business pursue those goals, the business helps us pursue our goals as well. And so I'd say people that are driven, people that want to make something of their lives, people that are goal-oriented, they're focused, and they're committed to overcoming any adversity that may come their way. Clay's passion for helping business owners grow their businesses it's unique in that I don't know if there's anyone else that can be as passionate. Whenever a business starts working with Clay, it's almost as like Clay is running that business in the sense that he has something at stake. He's just serving them, They're one of his clients, but it's as if he is actively involved in the business. Whenever they have a win, he's posting it all over his social media. He's shouting it across the room here at Thrive. He's sending people encouraging messages. He can kind of be that life coach and business coach in terms of being that a motivator and that champion for people's businesses. It's again unique because there's no one else I've seen get so excited about and passionate about other people's businesses. The kind of people that wouldn't like working with Clay are people that are satisfied with mediocrity. People that want to get through life by just doing enough, by just getting by. People who are not looking to develop themselves, people who are not coachable, people who think that they know it all and they're unwilling to change. I would say those are the type of people. In short, anyone that's content with mediocrity would not like working with Clay. So if you're meeting Clay for the first time, the advice I'd give you is definitely come ready to take tons of notes. Every time Clay speaks, he it gives you a wealth of knowledge that you don't want to miss. I remember the first time that I met Clay, I literally carried a notebook with me all around. I was looking at this notebook the other day, actually. I carried a notebook with me all around, and I just took tons of notes. I filled the entire notebook in about 3 or 4 months, just from being around Clay, following him, and learning from him. And then I would say, come coachable. Be open to learning something new. Be open to challenging yourself. Be open to learning and adjusting parts about you that need to be adjusted.